All right, so I've gone on the record in the past saying that the Nintendo Switch is probably one of my most favorite, if not my most favorite console ever made. It was just one of those things that sort of hit at the right place at the right point in my life, and yeah, between its hyperportability and amazing game library, it's no secret as to why it would be a really sought after system. The Switch still holds a place in my heart, but if I gotta be honest, since the Steam Deck came out, it's been kind of gathering dust, and yeah, let's talk about that. All right, so just to clear things up, I still do enjoy the Nintendo Switch, and this is more sort of just a talking head piece, and I would really love to start a discussion in the comments down below on everybody's thoughts and opinions on the Nintendo Switch and kind of everything that I'm talking about here. I would love to really start a discussion in the comments down below. Okay, so little personal story time for me. I initially bought the Nintendo Switch maybe a few months after it launched in 2017. And yeah, at the time, my daughter, who had just been born, had something called colic. And the oversimplified explanation is a baby who has colic basically cries when they technically have no reason to cry. You know, they're not hungry, they don't need to be changed, stuff like that. And the only way that would really kind of keep her at ease and keep her from just constantly crying was if you held her and basically walked around with her. And yeah, that gets old really quick and you start to get stir crazy. Fortunately, with the Nintendo Switch and these amazing little Joy-Cons, this basically kept me sane during that period. I would hold her against my shoulder and basically hold my Joy-Con like so and pace back and forth in front of the TV, or maybe have her draped over my shoulder and basically play in handheld mode. And that is what kept me sane during that whole colic period. So just for that alone, I owe Nintendo a lot of thanks. With that little bit aside, the other personal thing for me was that when Breath of the Wild came out and when I played it for the first time, that sort of at the time unlocked my love for gaming again. You know, I never stopped gaming, but Breath of the Wild was one of those games that kind of rekindled that, I guess, sort of childlike love for games, and it was just one of those things that again hit at the right place at the right time. And after finishing Breath of the Wild, I played Mario Odyssey soon after, and that had a very similar effect. There's just something about like really high tier Nintendo games that does a really good job at sort of just hitting that nostalgia factor and just having that really fun gameplay. There's just something about a really solid first party Nintendo game that, I don't know, just hits just right. I can't explain it. Even though I already had a gaming PC and a PS4, the Nintendo Switch quickly became my go-to gaming device of choice. First-party games aside, even if I had to sacrifice graphical fidelity just to be able to play in a sort of hybrid portable nature, I went with the Switch 10 out of 10 times. Just to be able to play on the couch and play on the TV, or take it to work with me if I wanted to keep playing later. It was just such a new concept for myself, and I fell in love with it quickly. Now, fast forward a few years later, and we have the Steam Deck, and it's pretty much the main reason why my Switch is currently collecting dust. Basically, what the Steam Deck did for me was take all the things that I really enjoyed about the Nintendo Switch and sort of crank it up a notch. The Steam Deck isn't a perfect system by any means. There are, in fact, some drawbacks, and I did make a video in the past about reasons not to buy a Steam Deck, and if you want to, you can check that out in the description down below. But by and large, those setbacks, at least for me personally, didn't bother me so much, and I still play this thing on the regular. Personally, I think if I'm comparing something like the Nintendo Switch or the Steam Deck, the two main things that these systems have going for them are Nintendo's first-party lineup, and then pretty much the opposite, you have just the vast selection of games available on Steam that you can play on the Steam Deck. Basically, you have a really high-polished, streamlined device, or you have sort of a maybe a little bit clunky Swiss Army knife. Now, as far as why the Steam Deck is kind of becoming my main go-to handheld system of choice, there's kind of two or three reasons why. The first, and probably the more obvious reason at the moment, is that Nintendo, at least as of recording this video, is currently in a sort of dry spell. At least in my opinion, there aren't a lot of main first-party titles that are really worth picking up, at least as of right now. I'm kind of burnt out on Pokemon as of late, and yeah, I'm right now, honestly, the only thing that's keeping me interested is either hopefully a new Metroid type game coming out, which I honestly don't think we're going to see for a long time, or the eventual release of Breath of the Wild 2. Excuse me. Tears of the Kingdom. But I do think that's kind of subjective. I know there are a lot of games that have come out recently on the Switch that a lot of people absolutely love. Really, the main thing that has sort of gravitated me towards the Steam Deck as of late isn't necessarily due to Nintendo's dry spell, but rather the sort of, I guess, design philosophy around the Steam Deck, with it being much more open than the Nintendo Switch. I mean, for starters, while you can find a lot of bloatware on the Steam storefront, much like the Nintendo Switch eShop, there's just a larger, higher quality selection of games that you can get, and frankly, that you can run on the Steam Deck, and it's just a great way to play a lot of these games. I mean, I myself played through the entirety of Max Payne 2 for the first time just on the Steam Deck alone, and being able to use the gyroscope aiming in Max Payne was very nice. It's obvious that it is a beefier system than Nintendo Switch, but pair that with the sort of open nature that is Linux and stuff, you can do things like run EmuDeck on it. And I myself was able to install the entire US library of Nintendo 64 games, and it has worked pretty much flawlessly on my end. The ability to play PS2, N64, and Game Boy ROMs has just been awesome, and it's just another thing that this thing can do that the Nintendo Switch just can't. I mean, you could technically play N64 ROMs through the Nintendo Switch Online store, but you have to pay a premium for that privilege, and the library is kind of slim pickings in my opinion. Anyway, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before on how the Steam Deck offers a lot of things that I liked from the Nintendo Switch. It just does those things either more so or just flat out better. I mean, and while we're on that topic, while I haven't done this myself, I've seen plenty of videos and Reddit posts that people have run Switch games on the Steam Deck itself, and it's done a pretty solid job. So you have that as well. Not just because of its massive Steam library or even its really solid emulation capabilities, there's a lot of games that you can just play using the Steam Deck, even thanks to streaming. If you have Game Pass, you can do things like stream xCloud games directly to your Steam Deck, and even with a little workaround, you can even stream your PS5 games directly to your Steam Deck, and it works surprisingly well. Now, I'm not one to say that the Switch needs a sort of hardware refresh. I mean, yes, it could benefit from more powerful hardware, but I'd still think that you can get a lot of quality games in this, little device. That being said, it is harder to ignore that with beefier hardware comes likely more ports from third-party developers. So, maybe that is something that Nintendo needs to do. I realize I'm kind of all over the place with this video, but yeah, there's just a lot of things that make me gravitate more towards the Steam Deck now. And I guess now that I think about it too, with the Steam Deck being sort of more open-ended on a design and philosophy stance, it kind of just gives me more confidence as a buyer of games. Very similar to when I mentioned before when the Nintendo Switch came out. When I had the Switch for those first few years, I often made my decision on purchasing games based on whether or not it had a Switch version coming out. Because if it did, even if it was a downgraded version, I wanted it on that system. And now with the fact that I can buy something on my Steam library and choose to either play it on my PC or play it on the Steam Deck, that's kind of what it is now with this. If there's a game that is releasing on Steam that I know, or at least have very strong confidence that it will be workable on the Switch, then yeah, I'll likely make that purchase on Steam. And on top of that, mind you, while Nintendo is making efforts, it seems, to sort of have your purchases sort of cross over into whatever future consoles come out, there is still that question to be had whether or not your purchases will last years down the road. I think that the Steam platform in general just kind of gives the buyer a bit more confidence as far as what they're purchasing and how long that purchase will last for them. I think of people who made digital purchases on like the Wii or the Wii U, and how, those purchases aren't going to transition generations down the line when new Nintendo consoles come out. And even if they don't make a second generation Steam Deck, which they definitely will, I can still play those games. I can still play those games on my PC. So yeah, I mean, it's just a much more confidence-inspiring device, I guess. Or if you're really wanting something for the long haul, you get the most value out of your purchases, that sort of thing. Again, this thing just does what this thing does, just in my opinion, a little bit better. And yeah, honestly, until Tears of the Kingdom drops, I still don't really see myself playing this very much. But yeah, that's just the opinion of one dumb guy on the internet. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Do you have a Steam Deck and a Nintendo Switch? Do you have either of the systems, frankly? And what are your thoughts and opinions on each? Do you think the Nintendo Switch needs a second generational upgrade right now? Do you think it needs beefier hardware? Do you think that the Steam Deck still has a lot to be desired? Any thoughts and opinions I'd love to hear in the comments down below. Again, still absolutely love the Nintendo Switch, and I definitely think it's worth owning for those Nintendo first-party titles. But as far as the ultimate gaming handheld, I think that really falls to the Steam Deck now, just because, again, of how great of an all-around system it is. Whether you like this content or not, be sure to let us know by hitting that appropriate like or dislike button, and feel free to hit us up on either Twitter or our Discord community server, all listed in the description down below. With that being said, thank you as always for watching this video and checking out the channel. My name is Blake, and for all things tech, games, to really anything nerdy in between, be sure and subscribe to Digital Cynics. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next time.